Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome to lesson 4 of Straight Path Academy Arabic, volume 1, reading Arabic letters. Inshallah, in this lesson, we will learn 3 new letters. And similar to the ba, ta, and tha, these 3 letters all share the same shape, but are differentiated according to the dots. So as we can see, one letter has a dot beneath, one letter has no dot, and one letter has a dot above. But they all share the same shape, which to me can be compared to an ocean wave. If we imagine this bottom part, that's the ocean, and then this upper part is the wave crashing. So we'll begin with the letter Jim. The letter Jim, it sounds similar to the English J. And an Arabic word that begins with the letter Jim is Jinn. And as we mentioned, for every letter, we need to learn the 4 possible ways it may appear. Firstly, this is how the Jim looks alone, and then this is how the Jim looks in the beginning, middle, and end of a connection. And the main thing to remember about the Jim is that it looks similar to an ocean wave, but it has a dot underneath. Next, we have the letter Ha. The letter Ha, it sounds similar to the English H. But one thing to keep in mind about the letter Ha is that it's a sharp H. And this is important to remember because there is another letter in Arabic which is a soft H. So for example, a soft H is more like Ha, whereas this sharp H is more like Ha. So for example, the name Muhammad, that H sound in Muhammad is the letter Ha. This is how the letter Ha looks alone, and then this is how it looks in the beginning, middle, and end of a connection. And it looks just like the letter Jim, except the Ha has no dot. And finally, we have the letter Kha. The letter Kha can be compared to the combination of K and H in English. So for example, the name Khadija begins with the letter Kha. Kha, Khadija. And the letter Kha looks just like the Ha and Jim, except it has a dot above. So this is how it looks alone, and this is how it looks in the beginning, middle, and end of a connection. So before moving on to the exercise, just a quick summary. All these 3 letters, they share the same shape, which looks kind of like an ocean wave. However, the Jim sounds similar to the English J and has a dot beneath. The Ha sounds like a sharp H and has no dot. And the Kha sounds like the combination of K and H, and it has 1 dot above. So in order to practice and test our knowledge, we'll move on to the exercise. So first, let's try 17 together. Step number 1 is identify the letter. Now remember, Arabic starts from the right and goes to the left. So this here is the first letter we're going to analyze. Now we can see it looks like an ocean wave, but it has a dot underneath. So which letter has a dot underneath? That would be the letter Jim, which sounds similar to the English J. So we're going to write a J for the letter Jim. After identifying the letter, next we want to identify the haraka. What is a line written beneath a letter called? That would be the kesra, which sounds like E. So we're going to write an I for the kesra. So this first letter in haraka is a Jim and a kesra, which sounds like G. Hence we wrote G. Moving forward, we want to identify the next letter. So which letter looks like an ocean wave but does not have a dot? That would be the letter Ha. And we're going to write a capital H because the letter Ha is sharp. So by capitalizing the H, we just want to remind ourselves that the letter Ha is sharp, in contrast to a soft Ha, which we will learn in the future, inshallah. So after identifying the letter, next we want to identify the haraka. What do we call a loop written above a letter? This is called a dhamma, and it sounds like U. So we're going to write a U for the dhamma. So for the second letter in haraka, we have Hu. A capital H for the letter Ha, and a U for the dhamma. Hu. Hu. So if we look again at the first 2 letters and their harakas, we have a Jim and Kesra, G, a Ha and Dhamma, Hu, and together it's Ji-hu, Ji-hu. Finally, let's look at the last letter. Which letter looks like a wave but has a dot above? That would be the letter Kha, which sounds like the English KH. And it has two of the same haraka written above. Which haraka is a line written above a letter? That would be the fatha. What sound does the fatha represent? It represents the A sound. So we're going to write an A for the first fatha. But what's it called when there are two of the same haraka above or beneath a letter? That's called tanween. And what sound does the second haraka always represent? It represents the N sound. So we're going to write an N for the tanween. So the combination of this letter and haraka would be KH for the kha, followed by an A for the first fatha, and then an N for the second fatha, because it has tanween. So this will be pronounced khan. So if we are to read this entire combination of letters and harakat, it would be Ji Hu Khan. Ji Hu Khan. Now let's do one more example together. This is number 25. And here you'll notice we're going to start bringing all the different letters that we've learned thus far. So while we learned the Jim, Ha, and Kha in this lesson, if you go through the entire exercise, you'll see we also bring forth the Ba, Ta, and Tha from the previous lesson. And we do this throughout the book so that you can continue to practice identifying and memorizing the different letters. So as you can imagine, the more letters you learn, the more are going to come in these exercises. But as long as you go through the lessons, you go through the exercises and practice, before you know it, inshallah, you'll have memorized all of the letters and you'll be able to read. So step number 1 is identify the letter. Now, which letter did we learn that has a U shape and a dot underneath? That would be the letter Ba. So we're going to write a B for the letter Ba. Next, we're going to identify the haraka, which is a line written beneath a letter. That is the Kesra, which sounds like E. So we're going to write an I for the Kesra. So together, the letter Ba and the Kesra sound like B. Hence, we wrote B. Next, we're going to identify the second letter. Which letter looks like an ocean wave with a dot above? Is it the Jim, Ha, or Kha? The ocean wave with a dot above is the Kha. So we're going to write a K, H for the letter Kha. Next, we identify the haraka. Which haraka is a line written above a letter? That would be the Fatha, which sounds like A. So we're going to write an A for the Fatha. So together, the Kha and the Fatha sound like Kha. Hence, we wrote Kha. Next, we're going to go to the third letter. Which letter did we learn that looks like this when it's in the middle of a connection and has two dots above? That would be the letter Ta, which sounds similar to the English T. Next, we're going to identify the haraka. A line above a letter is the Fatha, which sounds like A. So together, the Ta and Fatha sound like Ta, Ta. And then finally, the fourth letter here at the end has that wave-like shape with a dot underneath. So which wave-like shape had a dot underneath? Was it the Jim, Ha, or Kha? That would be the Jim. So we're going to write a J for the Jim. And then the final haraka, we have a line written beneath, which is the Kesra. It sounds like E. So we're going to write an I to represent the Kesra. And now we can go back and review this entire combination of letters and harakat. We have Ba, Kesra, Kha, Fatha, Ta, Fatha, Jim, Kesra. All together it would be B, Kha, Ta, Ji. B, Kha, Ta, Ji. Allahumma barak, once you finish this lesson, that means you now know 6 Arabic letters, along with the 3 vowel symbols, and tanween, referring to when there is a double vowel symbol. Inshallah, if you keep practicing, completing the exercises, and proceeding through the lessons, then inshallah, before you know it, you will know how to read the Arabic language. You just completed lesson 4, and there's only 20 lessons total before you've been taught all of the Arabic letters and symbols. Allah knows best. Thank you for watching. Jazakumullahu khairan. Keep up the good work, and we ask that Allah make it easy for everyone. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.